Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Akwath, and Shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Now, this lesson is going to be based on what's happening in regards to this U.S. Israel Iran war. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read some of this article, get some precepts, and the Lord's will you're edified. It says, de-escalation. Europe hesitates as U.S. pushes for Hormuz naval mission. The U.K. and France are not seeking confrontation with Iran in the U.S.-Israeli war, largely rejected by Europe, say analysts. The United States has spent months trying to forge an international naval coalition to escort vessels through the embattled Strait of Hormuz. But Washington's European allies, including the United Kingdom and France, who previously agreed to head such a mission in the event of a sustainable truce, appear reluctant to move forward even as ongoing disruption in the vital waterway strains the global market. Analysts say the stalled coalition effort reflects deep caution among European governments about becoming entangled in an unpredictable conflict they neither initiated nor supported, particularly without clear backing from Gulf partners. It says neither UK nor France has much appetite for being drawn into a confrontation with Iran on behalf of others, particularly if there is no clear regional demand for it. H.A. Hellier, a senior fellow at the Royal United Services Institute and Center for American Progress, told Al Jazeera. The U.S. first raised the idea of an international maritime coalition to secure shipping in the waterway in March, as President Donald Trump called on allies as well as China to send warships as part of the effort. Most countries initially declined or were non-committal, though the UK and France left the door open to participating. U.S. officials continued to promote the idea of a maritime coalition as its war against Iran dragged on, as Trump lambasted U.S. allies for what he deemed insufficient support for Washington in the conflict. In mid-April, then British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced plans for the UK and France to lead an international mission to secure shipping in the strait, stressing it would be strictly peaceful and defensive. The following month, the UK Ministry of Defense promised to send drones, fighter jets, and a warship as part of the mission, which it said had the support of dozens of other countries and would kick off when conditions allowed. But months later, the effort appears to be stalled, despite British Defense Secretary Wes Streeting saying his country is absolutely aligned with the U.S. on securing maritime freedom and free commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. A European diplomatic source told Al Jazeera that following a France-UK initiative for a multinational mission for the freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, a new meeting gathering more than 30 states at a technical level took place on Thursday. A UK Defense Ministry spokesperson told Al Jazeera that Streeting expects further talks on planning and coordination for a future multinational mission. Operational activity remains contingent on conditions on the ground and a durable political agreement, they said, adding that the UK remains committed to securing commercial shipping across the Gulf region. Hellier said the Hormuz naval coalition has been delayed because the politics have never matched the rhetoric. The UK and France may support freedom of navigation in principle, but they are highly unlikely to lead an operation that key Gulf partners do not actively support. Neither country wants to be seen as imposing a security architecture that regional governments regard as unnecessarily escalatory. Amjad Ahmed Rashid, lecturer in defense studies at King's College London, said any European involvement would likely be limited, conditional, and purely defensive. Already dealing with a closer security threat on its eastern front with Russia, Europe wants de-escalation and stability in the Gulf, Rashid told Al Jazeera. Yeah, so basically, the UK and France, they know that if they get involved, they're going to become targets of Iran. And that's what they don't want. That's what they're trying to avoid. Which is putting them at odds with the US. Which, to be honest, the way that Trump's been talking about the UK and France and all the other US allies, just disrespecting them, it makes sense to me why, partly why nobody wants to help. Because it's like, why would we risk our soldiers and risk our country getting attacked to defend somebody who has disrespected us so much? Called us all kinds of names, slapped tariffs on us, made life even more difficult for us than it already was due to this illegal war that the US started alongside Israel. Luke 12:51, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth, I tell you nay, but rather division. And you see the division happening, especially amongst the house of Esau. These Edomites, they can't keep holding hands. Every time something pops up, somebody's getting left out in the cold. Just like how Esau over here in the US is treating those Edomites out there in Canada. All those fires burning out there, and instead of trying to help, Trump is over here calling them names and being very disrespectful to them. So the house of Esau is divided because the US government, the Canadian government, the UK government, France's government, they're all ran by Edomites, so-called white people, but yet they're divided. They're not on the same page. Mark 3:23, and he called unto them, and he called them unto him, and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And all of these kingdoms are divided. Here in the US, the population is divided. In Canada, the population is divided. In the UK and France, people are divided on so many different things, especially when it comes to politics and, things like immigration. It says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And the house of Esau is divided against itself. Those Edomites in these different countries, they can't get on the same page. And it's causing all their plans to fall apart. Verse 26, and if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. And that's what's ultimately going to happen. These Edomites are going to fall. They're all going to collapse. All of these wicked Edomite kingdoms are going to fall. And these Edomites, they know it, and they can see it, and they can feel it, and they're scratching and clawing to try to, keep it together, but there's nothing that they can do because the Lord has set in motion their downfall. It's already been prophesied that Esau was going to lose. So there is no way out for them. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. And that's right. And this just proves that Esau was never in charge. All of this white superiority, these Edomite men thinking that they were in charge and they were running something. It's like, no, the Lord is the one that's in control. Esau is the basest of man. He's nothing. He's merely a puppet, a pawn that the Lord moves to fit prophecy. And the Lord has basically used Esau for what he needed Esau for. And now he's removing these Edomites out of that power seat that he placed them in. And there's nothing Esau can do to stop this. It's just like the scriptures say, there be 9 things that I've judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And we are witnessing that. We're witnessing the division of our enemies. And due to that division, their plans don't work. And they're just, everything that they've done is just falling apart. And it's a beautiful thing to behold. But we must also keep in mind that when Esau gets desperate, he gets violent. So we can expect a lot more violence from these Edomites. Not just the military, but also these Edomite civilians. They're going to start lashing out against each other, and definitely more against brown-skinned people. Because somehow, some way, they're going to blame brown-skinned people for why everything that they do is falling apart and failing. That racial hatred that these Edomites have for brown-skinned people, especially Israelites, it's about to get put on full display. All the race wars that Esau be talking about, that's going to actually happen. But things are not going to go the way these Edomites think they're going to go. In the end, Esau loses. His wicked kingdoms that are all over the world are going to be brought down. And his wicked red ass is going into slavery under the very people that he hates the most. And there's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing he can do to stop it. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. To Wadi Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Akwath, and shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. I hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up in Adawan Ratazah. Till next time, shalom.